they're ready for this. You know what time it is? It's about that time of the week to showcase what you got, the talent that we have. It's a whole lot. You can sing, you can dance, you can rap, you can write. It doesn't matter. You know what time it is? Put your hands in the sky and wave them side to side. Every foot alive. It's Talented Thursday with Kimberly Eichelle. Let's go. I don't think they're ready for this. You know what time it is? It's about that time of the week to showcase what you got, the talent that we have. It's a whole lot. You can sing, you can dance, you can rap, you can write. It doesn't matter. You know what time it is? Put your hands in the sky and wave them side to side. Every foot alive. It's Talented Thursday with Kimberly Eichelle. Let's go.
Hey, everybody, it's your girl, Kimberly Eichelle, and welcome to another episode of Talented Thursdays. I'm so glad that you all are here with me tonight. You are in for a treat. I definitely have someone special in the room. You all are already coming in and commenting. Hello to Joshua Gabriel. Thank you so much for coming in. Joshua said, I'm first place winner. That's right. Number one coming in. And my friend Marjorie Slats, she's a speaker as well and has been a guest on the show. She said, I guess I'm second place. That's right, Marjorie. Thanks so much for coming in. And to all of you, come on in. Bring a friend. Let me tell you, I am excited tonight. I really am. You know, last week was a good week. We had comedian Damon Williams who was on the show. He brought us some laughter, but he also brought a lot of inspiration. He's been in the industry for over 30 years. So if you missed that episode, make sure you go back and tap on in. But again, tonight is going to be amazing. Shout out to you, Marjorie. She said you have the best voice. Thank you so much, my sister. I appreciate you so much. But yes, she's also said that Damon was a great guest. And yes, he was. I really enjoyed him. Let me tell you all, last week, I was expecting a lot of laughter, a lot of comedy from this great comedian, right? And Damon, I thank him for being a man of his word because he actually kind of overbooked. So he was in the middle of a huge show, but he still showed up in the background. He didn't want to leave me hanging. And I want to say thank you so much, Damon, for being here. But, you know, again, he brought us so much inspiration to the verge where I almost cried, y'all. Like for real, I had tears in my eyes because he spoke so much positive word. And so for those of you who are interested in entertainment and just continuing in what you have been called to, that's an episode for you to see. But let's get started for tonight. Look, Marjorie said it was real. It was real. It really was. All right. But we are going to jump in for tonight. I definitely want to have enough time for tonight's guest because he is amazing, y'all. You ever seen a man that wears so many hats? I mean, I found out about this gentleman recently, and I'm just like, wow, blown away. And you're going to be blown away as well. So thank you for watching on Instagram. Thank you for watching on YouTube. Thank you for watching on, let me see, Facebook. Also, you may be listening in on Spotify, maybe Vegas Praise Radio, wherever you're listening from or watching from. Thank you. Tell a friend. Let's get started. Okay, I'm ready. Oh my goodness. Tonight's guest is the host of the God and Gig Show, where he's interviewed dozens of Grammy and Emmy Award winning artists and has also helped creatives to embrace their gifts. He's the author of 2 books, God and Gigs, Succeed as a Musician Without Sacrificing Your Faith, and his devotional, Your Art, God's Heart. He's a musician, author, podcaster, and coach who helps faith focused creators find complete confidence in their calling while excelling in their craft. Get ready to be inspired. Get ready to be lifted higher. Up next, none other than Mr. Alan C. Paul. You're watching Talented Thursdays.
I don't think they're ready for this. You know what time it is? It's about that time of the week to showcase what you got, the talent that we have. It's a whole lot. You can sing, you can dance, you can rap, you can write. It doesn't matter. You know what time it is? Put your hands in the sky and wave them side to side. If you feel alive. Talented Thursday with Kimberly Eichelle. Let's go.
Let's go, let's go. Y'all know how we do. Go ahead and give me a drum roll out there. And give it up for none other than Mr. Alan C. Paul. Hi, Alan.
Hello, Kimberly. Can I please hire you to be my hype woman slash intro. Like I've never felt
Absolutely.
better about myself than I do right now.
Oh my goodness. Well, that makes me feel good. I always love for my guests to feel like what? Guests, but also family, right? Because we are family in the Lord. So I'm excited to have you
Amen.
here tonight, and I cannot wait to dive in and let the audience know more about you. But before we do, I want you to rep your city. Okay. So, Rep Your City is a part of the show where I love the guests who come in to tell us where they're coming in from. And if someone has never been to your neck of the woods, what's something that we need to do there? Experience, taste, see, hear? Go ahead and tell me, Alan.
All right. Well, this is going to be tough because I've been a Floridian my whole life, but I've been on two corners of Florida. Okay. I grew up in Pensacola, Florida. Most people haven't heard of it, but it's on the other side, right there next to Alabama. It's basically East Alabama, y'all. Okay.
Okay.
Might as well be
Okay.
right outside of Mobile. But for the last 30 years of my life, I've been on the other end of Florida, which is Miami, Fort Lauderdale. Okay, so we're
Mm,
just gonna wrap 305. So we'll just make it 305 because keep
there
it
we
easy for
go.
everybody. You don't have to figure out the geography. And so, University of Miami is where I went to school, and ever since 92, right? That's I can't even do the math. That's how long I've been here.
Yes.
So to rep Miami, like it is one of those places where once you get here, like you just have to know how to roll.
Mm,
Miami is its own. People say South Beach, and they see all the different, things with, those fancy cars and all the beaches and everything. But let me tell you honestly, the thing about Miami that people don't understand is that it really is a place where people belong, where families are family, and we have so
mm,
much of the international community here. That's what I love about it. I could shout out my Jamaicans, and of course, my wife
yes.
being one of those Jamaicans who got transplanted back down here to Miami because she was tired of the cold in Chicago. So all of my
Awesome.
Jamaicans, I could shout out. If you want to talk about the food and stuff, I mean, come on now, jerk chicken, the curry goat, like you could actually get the stuff you actually want to get from the islands anywhere. Obviously, Cuba, we got to rep out our Cubans down here, my friends. And so, really, every time you go into a place, it's like you're hearing all these different languages. I've never learned Spanish, never learned Creole, but I feel like I can speak it.
Right, right.
Just
Because you heard
because
it
you
so much.
hear, yes. And so it's just an incredible melting pot where people are from all over the world, but they all just rep 305. And it's a beautiful thing to know that, you can be a part of a community that's proud. That's like,
Yeah.
hey, we know you don't get us, and we get accused of being all kinds of crazy down here in Miami. But yeah, I've called it home for 30 something years, and there's a reason because I just found myself comfortable in a place where so much celebration of differences was okay.
That is awesome. I have to admit, I have never been to Florida, but I'm going. Okay.
Yes,
Now
come.
it's going to be a little bit before I can travel, but once I do, Florida is on my list for sure. My cousin would laugh at me because she's like, "You've been to Georgia so many times. You mean to tell me you've never been to Florida?" And I'm like, yeah. She's like, "Next time you come to Georgia, we're going to Florida." So I'm coming. I'm coming. And then you
Good to
made
know.
us
Yes.
hungry, with all those different foods and cultures. I think that that's a beautiful thing. So, okay, Miami it is. It's on my list. You sold me.
Yes. All right. We're ready for you.
Yes. So tell me, you grew up in Florida. And tell me, who inspired you most? You had so many, like you said, sounds around you, taste around you, cultures around you. Who were some of the people who influenced you?
Wow. So starting, it has to be my mother. Starting from that, and I
Mm,
always usually start these phrases with these four phrases when I think about how do I describe my influences. I always start by saying husband, father, creative, and forgiven.
mm,
So the first two, husband, father, come because of my parents, right? Because I watched my dad, who inspired me by being a dentist up there in Pensacola, one of the first black dentists to graduate from his Ivy League school and then come down and start his own practice. So that inspired my entrepreneurship, right? Then my mother, the music teacher, who inspired my first piano teacher. So, my family connection to both music and everything else comes from my parents. They're my biggest inspiration. And then even back then to my grandparents, right? So you just see that legacy. I was blessed to have a legacy I could follow in and want to make something of myself and have a family like they had, right? And pour into more people like they poured into me and to so many other people in their community. And musically speaking, this is the hardest part because there's so many other voices as well, musically
mhm.
and outside, that made me who I am. I'll tell you one that really kind of pushed me at the beginning of my musical career. I started classical as a pianist. So piano's been my only instrument my whole life. I couldn't be like some of these guys that play a million instruments. I was only a
Right.
one instrument man. And so I had a teacher named Robert Sherwood, a classical teacher. Now, I would sneak away from my classical piano lessons to practice Prince, to play a whole bunch of Michael Jackson on the radio. I just wanted to learn and play by ear, but I also had to read music because I was in this classical program. And
Yes.
Mr. Sherwood never let me off the hook. All these other students were, winning concerto competitions and all this other stuff, right? And do these billion things. And I was like, I don't really want to. He would not allow me to go low and just kind of like say, hey, I can't really handle that. They're better than me. He
Right.
pushed me to achieve to the point that I did eventually get to play a symphony with a symphony orchestra at age 17.
Wow.
That wouldn't have happened had I not had a teacher like him that wanted me to explore everything. And it's where I feel like right now, I just finished a gig last night with playing some French gypsy jazz. And, it was
Mm,
like, and I just kind of saw to myself, like, what am I doing here? And it was because I didn't feel this fear of taking on something that was not new to, or not natural to me. And that's
yes.
because I had teachers who would not allow me to get off the hook and just say, oh, just play what you're comfortable with. Nope. You got to be able to learn all the scales, learn all the different things, learn all the different styles, and be able to flow and to master several different things. So that would just be one example. There's so many other ones I could pick, but he's the one, since I'm thinking about my childhood and my upbringing, that's one of my biggest inspirations. The teachers who allowed me to stick with what really mattered, which was discipline, commitment, and excellence.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Shout out to Mr. Sherwood for sure. We have those educators, in our lives who impact us forever. I actually was writing some things recently and wrote about my music teacher growing up, my middle school music teacher. And so I love that you gave Mr. Sherwood those accolades because they do make a huge difference in our lives. And I want all the teachers that are listening to know that your words can affect someone forever for the rest of their lives. So, yes, I love that you're able to kind of move in and out of the different styles, of music. And you touched on the next question that I had coming up for you, because again, you are classically trained, and that's what you went to college for, like you said, at the University of Miami before you switched to jazz. So you did jazz music as well. Since then, you've shared the stage with artists such as Mickey Howard, Betty Wright, Raheem Devon, Slide Hampton, Jaguar Wright, Mike Phillips, Martha Munizi, Algebra Blissett. Oh, wow. It's like this love of music is rooted on the inside of you. Tell me what your gigs were like, because you talk about God and gigs. Tell me about some of those gigs.
Well, here's the funny thing. When you mentioned all those names, every single one of them was like, how did I get here? Right.
Right?
I could shout so many other ones out, right? It's even strange because now when you look at it over, yeah, 20 years, every time I realize I'm older and older when I start doing these stories and these interviews, like, oh my gosh, like, but that's what it
Time
is. It's like
flies.
when I first started, This was just me trying to figure out jazz, trying to figure out R&B, trying to master that Luther Vandross superstar intro, right? And I'm watching other
Yes.
players just nail it. And I'm like, I can't even like get my fingers to those chords to play this music that you guys are doing all the time. So I had no knowledge of the gig world. Remember, I was classically trained, and then I got into jazz. We had a little R&B band in college trying to call ourselves Earth, Wind, and Fire. We weren't even close to a flame or a match, okay? So I really was not in the gig world. This is part of my story, as I tell in my book, that God and gigs. I didn't know what a gig was other than just through college. Through most of the first 10 years after college, I was a music teacher only. I was working in my church, and I was like, y'all do that stuff in the clubs, but I don't know what that is. It wasn't until my wife went to an open mic night here in Miami from another person I'll shout out. If you come down to Miami, you got to find Miss Ingrid B. Miss Ingrid B is a poet, curator, live music curator, just one of those people that's created an incredible community of independent artists.
Nice.
And it wasn't until my wife started going to her open mic nights that I went to the same open mic night as my wife, because I'm like, what are you going to spoken word? I never even heard of this stuff. I need to see what you're seeing, right?
Yes.
And she looked at me, she's like, oh, you know what you need to be doing? You need to be playing for my open mic night. That open mic night turned into a long standing like Friday night open mic where I was playing with Raheem Devon, where Anthony David and Shante Khan and all these soul artists were coming in, and I was playing. Like, that's how I got the connection with Mike Phillips. Like, all these names, I have to give Ingrid B credit, because I didn't know anything about the gig world until I was put in the environment where I got to, again, exercise these gifts, learn how to flow, learn how to play these songs, and to follow and to become an accompanist with soul artists. And that corresponded with how I learned about the entire gig world of getting outside of the church world and having to do this for a living. Because as we all know, just playing music is not the easiest thing to do if you're going to try to do it full time, which I wasn't doing until later. So all this kind of comes together with me trying to figure out, hey, how can I fit into this world? How can my piano skills fit in? How can I, am I supposed to be a jazz artist? Am I supposed to be an R&B?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it was all these question marks. You don't figure it out until you start doing it. So those first few open mic nights, those first few times of just saying, hey, I may not be able to like travel the world and tour, but I can be here to play this song, and I can learn it as fast as I can. And I can keep a kind of karaoke group, acoustic karaoke night going, right? With just me and 88 keys. So that was the beginning of it. That was the beginning of it. And it's just continued from there, where I've been invited back into these artist worlds to continue to do that, just to be a help and to be an accompanist and to help make the band and the music come together.
That's awesome. I think you just said your next title of your book as well. Me and my 88 keys, or me and these 88 keys. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Let me just shout out some people that are watching. I have Uncle Ray, the Flow Master, who is watching. He is a singer out of California. And also Navell Davis. He is a producer, musician, singer, songwriter out of Tacoma, Washington as well. Danny Marie, who is a podcast guru. So I hope you two will connect as well. She said, you don't figure it out until you start doing it. She said, those are gems. Those are definitely gems for sure. So you talked about teaching piano. So you're a pianist, a teacher, musical director, and a coach in piano. So give me one coaching note or word of advice that you would give a creative looking to either play or compose a new piece of music. What's a piece of advice that you would give?
Oh, this is good. And one of the first things that I've always felt should be the obvious thing, and I feel weird saying it, but I have to say it because it's not obvious. It's not common. And it's listen. Ooh. What you take in is what's going to be what comes out. And so many times I think artists, creators, musicians especially, we're trying to be inspired, right? We're trying to find that thing. But what that thing is always going to be connected to what you're putting in. What music are you listening to? What are you inspiring yourself with? And I saw another artist that I can't give it away yet but she's going to be on the podcast soon, but I've been following her. And she said at one point she was a basic singer because she was only listening to basic music. And it's like, that's,
Mm.
wow, like that hit hard. But that's why in my life and anybody else that's thinking of creating more and
Yeah.
trying to find a new sound, you might think, oh, I don't want to let anything else. No, you got to get outside and get outside your genre, get outside the stuff you normally listen to. I mean,
Yeah.
my playlist goes all the way from country to hard rock to classical to alternative soul to everything else in between, because I want all those influences constantly like changing my sound so I don't sound the same way I sounded 10 years ago. I'm not the same person. I shouldn't sound the same way as I played
Yes.
or wrote 10 years ago, right? My experiences are different and all that kind of all comes from how am I allowing the influences I'm allowing into my musical and my, we'll get that later, into my spiritual, my spirit, right? All that
Right.
influence is going to eventually come out my music. So it's input and output. So if you want to get better music or better creative work, you got to increase the quality of the input that you're allowing in so that you are inspired with stuff that will actually come from a new kind of interesting place. Because once you kind of challenge yourself with something that you never tried to listen to or watch, you know what I mean? If it's like something for film or something like that, if you just go out there and just try some new inputs, your output's going to change naturally. So you just, try to increase the quality and the variety of what you're listening to. And that's my first thing. Again, there's many other obviously steps we could take, but that's the
Yes.
first one that always comes to mind.
That is so good. And it can apply in so many ways. When I was in college, I went to school in Atlanta, actually, at Clark Atlanta. And I remember my next door neighbor, I was in a co-ed dorm, and he would always say to me, Kim, you can't just listen to gospel. You got to listen to more music, Kim. He was from New York. So he's like, yo, you got to listen to other stuff, Kim. You need to listen to Chicago and this and that. And I did. I actually did listen to different types of music, but he was telling me to expand even broader. And so I'm like I know who Hezekiah Walker is, and all these gospel artists, but I also know Avril Lavigne, and I also know Kelly Clarkson and all of these people. And so that's so good to listen. That's so
Yeah.
important.
And
Another
just to
thing
real
that you,
quick, I want
uh-huh,
to tell you that when you talk about Hezekiah and all the 90s gospel, remember they got a lot of people say, "Oh, well, that's not real gospel," right? They were
right.
told because they were bringing in R&B influences, they were bringing
Yes, they
in rock
were.
influences, and so the music we think is like the whatever label is made
Uh-huh.
up of all the other things that they were listening to, right?
Yes.
So it never stops. Every single influence is kind of building on itself. So I love that you added that part about the gospel, because gospel is an amalgamation of so many other styles that makes it
Mhm.
what it is. So yeah, you can't just pick one and just leave all the rest of them out.
Absolutely, absolutely. But what I loved as well, what you said about the artist who was saying I was listening to basic things. And so I was getting basic music. Again, for me, that can apply to so many things. I am an artist, but also I love doing this podcasting. And so how do I grow unless I'm listening to others who have such a voice in the industry or whatever the viewers industry may be. You have to find someone who is growing. You cannot stay in this place of comfort zone and think that your voice or your sound is the end all of everything. I
Exactly.
love that. That was good. Very good. Yes, indeed. I have my sister Trina Latrice joining us. She said, "Hey, hey, hey," from California. Hey, Trina, thank you for showing up tonight, sis. I appreciate it. So, I have a video that I want the viewers to see because you're not playing live for me tonight, but I am going to show them some music tonight that, let me just say, as I was researching and looking at all of this information about Mr. Alan Paul, there's so much out there. You are like levels on levels. But anyway, we're going to talk about teaching.
Okay,
And
I'm
talking
ready.
about
Okay.
listening, okay? So this is a video that I saw, and I want to make sure that I grab the right one where you were just you weren't saying it with words, but you were saying it with music. And if they can see the titles that are coming across, you're actually teaching us something, okay? So
Okay.
musicians, go ahead and take a listen. Everybody take a listen. I loved it. Oh, yes. Yes, indeed. You were talking about a solo and finishing where you started. You said, listen, let the music breathe. Sometimes we fill our world with so much noise.
Yep.
It's like, let it breathe, let it speak to you. Tell me about that piece that you did there.
Oh my gosh. So, okay, first again, shout out to the amazing ladies that I got to perform that with who set that whole moment up, right?
Uh
I was
huh.
accompanying two great vocalists. One is Nicole Henry. Nicole Henry is a Soul Train award winning jazz vocalist, an international recording artist. You guys look her up. She is incredible, doing
Wow.
Broadway. What do you call what's the 50? I can't think of the name of the famous club in New York. But yeah, you name the club, she's headlined it. And then my
Wow.
friend Lisa Richards, she is the almost like they're best friends, and they were singing that thing together. So first, got to set them up, right? Can't say I was there
Yes.
by myself. I was
Right.
just
You
accompanied.
like, let me give these shout outs
Yeah, let me
first,
give a shout
right?
out to who set up that moment. Now that moment
Yes.
was in the middle of that in nearness of you, beautiful ballad. And yeah, I'm just going to say what Miles said, what all the other greats have said, is that sometimes you don't get paid for the music you play, you get paid for the notes you don't play.
Mm.
It's the distinguishing and the discernment to know playing the right notes and letting the music speak for itself, and then adding what you can. It doesn't mean never play, right? You got to add what you have to bring to the music. But there's so much in terms of where, like you just said, noise. I've seen some guys like Robert Glasper and all these other like artists talking about how everybody's got chops now. Everybody's got chops. Everybody's just getting on Instagram and TikTok and playing as many notes, whether it's drums or whatever instrument, right? Or singing
Right.
riffs or whatever. And basically the comment is, what else you got? If everybody's got technical facility, how do you bring across the soul? And it's a communication thing. And you just talked about it. Like, I think the theme of this entire discussion is listen, right?
Mhm.
I can't hear you talk unless I wait and let you respond. And so everything in this musical thing, whether it's audience to performer or performer to performer on the bandstand, is about, are you leaving space for conversation? And yeah, it's the same thing, like you said, whether it's podcasting or anything. If we're not allowing people to kind of like say, hey, here's my perspective, here's what I think of the music. And of course, if you're backing up somebody, this is huge, letting them lead the way and then
Yes.
adding your piece when you're supposed to. But for many of us who are not the lead singer, you got to let them shine. So how can I make them shine? How can I leave room in the music where everybody takes a turn being the special one? And I just facilitate that through accompanying. So that's the lesson. If there's any lesson of that, right? It was, okay, this seemed to epitomize where if y'all heard the rest, you'd see. You know what I mean? Like, you only heard like that 1 minute. I wish you could have heard the rest to see what I was responding to and what happened after.
Oh, I
That's really
bet.
what made it so special.
I love that you are dropping nuggets here tonight. Like my sister Danielle, she said, gems. She put up the diamonds because that represents gems, and it's gems across the board. Okay, because first of all, let me just say they're reacting to your music. Trina said, yes sir, indeed. Look at all those exclamation points. And Marjorie said, that is so beautiful. I could listen to that while sitting by my window watching the rain. Yes, indeed. See, you set an atmosphere.
Mm,
You set an atmosphere out there. And I know you set an atmosphere for relaxation and upbeat things when you do that, but you also set it for worship. And we're gonna get to that as well, okay? Because that is so look, I love to worship. My friend Deshaun Horn, he wrote a song that says, my heart is to worship, right? So we
right.
definitely are gonna talk about that in this conversation, okay? But I want to say, you are dropping so many nuggets tonight, and even saying let some things breathe and talking about listening. And I have learned that myself. We were talking about how long we have been doing our shows and such, and I
Right.
can go back to the beginning of my shows, and sometimes I watch them, and I'm like, "Ay caramba," I'm just like,
You're not alone. You're
I'm
not alone.
talking, I'm like cracking up because there were times, sometimes you don't realize the saying is true. Silence is golden. It's okay. It's okay. We want to feel every moment with sound. And so we're responding as people are talking. Yep. Uh-huh. Okay. And it's just like, let the moment breathe because they're really saying something and you're going to miss it if you don't slow down. So thank you for slowing us down tonight and talking about just, listening and breath. It is so good. So good. Tell me one habit that has changed your life.
So many I could choose from. First of all, the habit of setting good habits is the toughest one because it is so easy to fall off, right? It's so easy to start
Yes,
something and not
Lord.
finish it. And you really can't call it a habit because you really didn't stick with it. But the one thing that has been the most impactful, I remember my father giving me a book, very famous. A lot of people have heard of it. Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Mm.
And him making me read the book about habits and forcing me, he's like, yeah, look, I will pay you, but you need to read this entire book, right? And so one of the things I've always remembered from that book is called a concept called sharpening the saw. And so
Mm.
it comes from the famous principle of, I guess Abraham Lincoln or somebody talking about, I'd rather measure it twice and cut it once. I'd rather spend all of my time sharpening the saw before I try to make a cut. And so that's
Mm.
been the kind of like the principle of self-improvement. So for me, honestly, one of those habits that have come out of that is just morning devotional, morning time to journal, to take the time to sharpen myself and get ready for the day. It's not perfect. As soon as I say it, I realize I missed today, right? So I can't say that it's a perfect habit.
Yeah.
But right behind me here on my desk, I probably have about 15 years worth of journals.
Wow.
So like, cause every year I start from I really don't like do yearly. I just start whenever, and it's like I just go through the year, and then when I finish the book, I close it. And I
Right.
realize that, like you just said, okay, maybe I did stick with that. Maybe not every single day, but consistently over the years, I have consistently tried to sharpen myself and get better at being the person that God has called me to be, and fess up a lot. Like I hope people know when I pass away. I hope nobody reads those because there's a lot of foolishness in there that I had to admit to myself.
Yeah.
But over the years, that has been something that I've realized has helped me to become a version of the person that God created me to be. And so that's, I think, one of the habits, again, just day in, day out. Hey, prayer, reading the word, getting in your journal, writing about what's going on really in your life and being honest with yourself. I will just go ahead and quote my little theme scripture, one of my theme scriptures, because I love it so much because it talks about this. And so where Psalms 51, where David says, I desire that you would have truth in the inward parts, and in the hidden part, you will make me know wisdom. And basically, it's
Mm.
like, be real. That's what that verse says to
Yeah.
me. Be real. Be real. Be real with yourself. Be real with God. Be real with others. And so that habit of just saying, okay, every morning when I remember to get up, I need to write it down. I need to pray, and I need to get in my word and continue that refocusing and resharpening. That's been a huge thing for me.
It's so funny how I can piggyback off of everything that you're saying tonight.
Super in alignment, just perfect alignment. We talked
It's
about it already.
perfect. I'm telling you because you talked about missing a habit, right? And so we get in our minds that we're going to do something new or do something, to put our lives into better alignment. And so we may miss the mark every now and then. And
Hmm.
so people give up. We throw in the towel. We say, well, I messed up yesterday, so I can't do it, today. And it goes on, and you never start something. But you said, no matter how many mistakes I've made or how many times I've missed it, I have behind me 15 years of writing. Do you see the impact of even though I messed up and I kept going? It reminds me of the scripture, I press towards the mark.
That's it. Come on now,
I
sis.
press towards the mark. Pressing is we're pushing through something, right? It's not always easy. If every day was easy, we wouldn't have any lessons to be sharing on a podcast.
100%.
We wouldn't have anything to tell somebody about anything. because we've never been through anything. How can I tell you what it means to survive if I've never had to survive?
Right.
How do I tell you
Absolutely.
what it means to grow through something if I never had growing pains? So just you saying, "Hey, I didn't get it perfect every day, but I kept going, and I got 15 years to show you that I kept going." Go ahead. I told you was bad like Michael Jackson before we got on here. Okay.
Don't have my glove on, but I'll take it. Thank you, my sister.
Okay. Absolutely. Absolutely. So you are a man of faith. We have been talking about that, it's a big part of this interview tonight as well. And gospel music has been a huge part of your journey as well. You are in leadership at your church where you do music and such at your church as well. So when you came up with God and gigs, when I saw that, I was like, that is so brilliant. That is such a brilliant thought. God and gigs, because a lot of times people are afraid as Christians to enter into spaces that aren't a church. Let's just put it that way.
Yep.
They're afraid to go outside of the four walls. When, if you read your Bible, Jesus went outside of the he went
Literally what it was,
outside of the four
literally his
walls,
mission. Literally his mission. Exactly.
his whole mission. But there is a way to do it. You cannot go into things as a Christian and be pulled in their direction. We are supposed to be a light. We are the light of the world, and we're also, well, as Jesus says, beings, we are the lights. And then we
Right.
are the salt of the earth. How about that? So we have to go into these places. So tell me, look, I feel good. This is so good to me. I hope y'all enjoying this as much as I am. I know that they are. Tell me, it's a standout. This name is a standout that you chose. How did it come about? Tell me more about your mission, like through your church and through gigging and all of these things. When did you say, I need to come up with God and gigs?
All right. So this is the one of those questions where I should be willing to say it every time because it's literally the name of my platform and everything I've built, but it's also confession time anytime I have to tell the story.
Come on and confess.
So the first part of the confessional is, as I mentioned earlier, for the first 10 years after college, I was not gigging. I was following God and ministry. I was full time at my church as a music minister. And then after coming out of when God kind of said, hey, it's time for you to move into full-time ministry, I even dropped my previous position at my school. So I wasn't even doing school teaching anymore. It's just church.
Wow.
So it's full-time
Okay.
church, all the things.
Right.
Now, here's the part that's weird and both the confessional, where I thought that was going to be my full-time forever. That's the pinnacle of Christianity, right? You get into ministry, God blesses you, you're anointed for just this house, and you're going to serve the Lord all of your days. Except to the point where God kind of hit me with a 2x4 and said, I need you to get ready for a transition. I've been serving in this previous church for about maybe 10 years fully, and maybe 5 years for full time. And I started getting this little, that little voice in the back of your head. It's like, get ready to leave.
Ooh,
And I'm like, wait, why would I
I
leave?
know that. Ooh,
Yeah, okay, yeah, I know you probably have to.
yes.
I'm sure the testimony service is going to start. But long story short, Kimberly and audience, as crazy as it sounds, God called me out of full-time ministry, and I gave my senior pastor at the time a resignation letter at the same time he was trying to give me my promotion to senior associate. I traded unemployment for promotion because I left that job, resigned because I felt God had given me a date, and he did not tell me where to go next. Now, what in the heck does a church musician do when he leaves the church ministry?
My goodness.
He doesn't know. I was blessed that God had a ram in the bush in terms of my next church, which called me 3 days later after I left with no position, no idea of where I was going. So God did his ram in the bush thing. But he also did not tell me how I was going to make full-time money out of a part-time position that I got next. Guess where I had to start ending up finding money? I'm playing at this blues club for $50 and some fish dip, trying to remember my blues chords. Okay, I say fish dip because they have some really good fish dip now. This place,
I still
love them. I ate well, but I wasn't
There
making a
you
lot of
go.
money. And I
Right.
started to wonder, Kimberly, how in the world do musicians do this? Because I had been full-time music and full-time teaching, full-time music teaching and full-time
Hmm.
ministry, but not full-time musician. I had no idea. So
Wow.
I started going around to other musicians and asking them that question.
Yeah.
How are y'all making it? And guess what I found out? I didn't know this. I know this is common knowledge to most people. The same musicians playing behind Justin Timberlake, playing behind Rihanna, playing behind Neo, playing behind Jay-Z, all those guys are
Yeah.
also on church on Sunday morning most of the time.
Yes, they
The
are.
same musicians that we think are
Absolutely.
holy and anointed are also playing behind some of the ladies that have a little bit less clothes on. Okay?
You're
That's
telling
the
the truth.
truth. That's the truth. I didn't know
Yes.
that. That's what's so crazy when I say God engaged now, Kimberly, because I had
Hmm.
no idea that those two things were connected
Yeah.
back then.
Right.
So, long story short, I know I made a long story, but that's the part that when the name came, to go back to the part of the name, I thought it was going to be called something like a blog that I was writing called Jesus and Jazz. Thank God I changed that. So it
Mm.
wasn't Jesus and Jazz, it was God and
Wow.
Gigs. But that was why I put it together, because I did not know how to put those things together until I talked to people that are in my book that I interviewed, people that have sung with Take Six, played behind Julio Iglesias, played behind Flo Rida for years. My friend Dwayne Bennett is in the book. Paris
Hmm.
Bowens, rest his soul, who was one of the voices and the main people behind Ty Tribbett. These guys didn't know me from Adam and gave me
Wow.
interviews to go in my book. And I just walked out 7 steps on how I think these people, myself included, are trying
Yeah.
to succeed as musicians without sacrificing their faith. So the book
Ooh,
became the podcast, became the movement, became the community. So hopefully that
that is
explains
so
it, where God
good.
Gigs came from.
Yes, yes, indeed. Look, and it's so good. And I know exactly what you're talking about on so many levels, from God speaking to you, telling you you need to leave a place when you're comfortable. When I loved where I was, I'm like, God, is that, and as I began to, okay, so anyhow, and I also have friends who play for Boys to Men and different artists.
Yes.
They've played for Ti and just all types of people. So, with that being said, I totally get what you are talking about, and you're still able to thrive, survive, and not compromise. Okay, it's
Yes.
a job.
Oh, wait. Please. I'm gonna clip that. What you
Uh
just
oh,
said. Thrive,
thrive,
survive,
survive, and not
and not
compromise.
compromise. All right, my
Okay.
sister. Thank you. See, you're helping me
Yeah.
right now.
You're helping me. Look, we're helping each other. Yes, indeed. Look, time is flying. I am looking at this time and I'm like, I have so many questions, but it's so good tonight. It is so good. Tell me, let me see. Okay. Tell me about one of your most impactful guests. Can you remember one of your most impactful guests on the show?
Okay, so once again, it's like picking one of your favorite children, right? Or your
Of
favorite
course.
child,
You're like, how
which
do I
is,
do that?
how do I do this?
Yes.
I will say one of the ones that people would not know the name of, and this is the key, is that yes, I've had a chance to interview some incredible musicians. You just named them, right? We could name drop all day with our friends and
Yeah.
people who have stepped into our lives and allowed us to be a part of it, and they're doing amazing things. But one of the most impactful ones was my interview with a friend, or not as a friend. He's much more of a friend, but in terms of following the show,
Mhm.
he's in the Tankard family. If you guys heard Tankard,
Absolutely.
yeah. So yeah, he's part of that family, Tobias, and he shared from his heart what it was like to grow up in a musical family, what it was like to try to create a community around his music, and struggling, the struggle to actually have his own voice. He's surrounded by all
Mhm.
this amazing talent, and yet at the time, thank God he's not there, but at the time he was like really trying to figure things out.
Right.
And that was the highest downloaded episode, even though I've had, again, such amazing artists. It
Right.
was that moment that I realized that we don't necessarily need to hear from the people all the time. We need to be inspired by the ones that have made it. But even more impactful in terms of my podcast is hearing from people who are right where we are. So I've been
Mhm.
very careful, Kimberly, over the last, now I've had the podcast since 2017, to not only look for the big names. Even
Yes.
though, thank God that the names that I've been able to have on the show Every time, like I said, when I list their bio, it's like a who's who of music.
Yeah.
But just as important and just as impactful are the fact that I get to rub shoulders every day with artists who are out there making it work in their local communities, their local churches, and their local music scenes, and their local artistic and creative circles. Because that's where it's just like the backbone of the economy is small business. The
Right.
backbone of the
Right.
creator economy is small creators.
Absolutely.
Okay. It's not the ones that
Hmm.
always get a million views on YouTube. It's not the ones that get a million downloads or streams, even though that doesn't account for much anymore. Streams doesn't, you
Yeah.
gotta have a billion streams, and even more than that.
To
Doesn't
make a
even matter.
penny.
Right, exactly. But the point is, in terms of the metrics, right? The numbers
Yes.
impress us. But the most impactful people that I've interviewed, like my friend Charmaine, who had open heart surgery 4 years, 5 years ago, lost her mom, and now is playing trumpet again in the Baltimore area. One of my
Wow.
most impactful supporters in my community, God and Gigs 360. I got to interview her, and I got to hear her tell her story of how she got back to playing trumpet after being on death's door.
My goodness.
This is the kind of stuff that I need to remind myself. And again, the same stories are from the same, by the way, I want to make sure I don't make it sound like people who are making a lot of money or doing big things are not going through the same struggles. They are. Sometimes we assume that the ones that are making it are not having the same struggles as the people at the bottom. They're having the same
Yes.
struggles. We just see the name and we think they don't have the same kind of issues with keeping their marriage together, keep their family together, keeping the bills paid, trying to handle all the mental health issues of being on stage. So
Yes.
everybody's dealing with it, but just sometimes I think we have to remind ourselves that every single creator is just as important. So just a couple of those names, I could name so many other ones, obviously, but those are the ones that have been most impactful to me and honestly to the community. Because, like I said, those folks who no one knew got more downloads, got more attention, and I actually
Yeah.
asked my community. I said, "Hey, do y'all want to hear from people you have heard of, or do you want to hear from people who are like you?" And
Hmm.
by a far margin, the vote was, we want to hear from people like us.
My goodness. The more you know, you know, there used to be a little advertisement. I don't know if it was NBC or someone, but
Yeah, I
they would say
remember
that
the
you
little.
remember the more you know, you know? Oh my goodness. I have a Stella Johns who is coming in the room. Hey, my sis out of Tacoma, Washington. She's an artist who sings and she has been winning some gospel awards. So shout out to you. Also, my niece came into the room. Let me shout my little niece out. This my eldest niece, Ryan. She said,
Hey, Ryan.
yes, that was to your music earlier. Thank you, niece, for coming in. TT loves you so much. So much. Now, I want to make sure that they have the names of your book. I want to play your music again. I think I'm going to do that first, actually. I'm going to play some music that caught my ear when I was going through all of these reels and such. And then I want them to know the names of your books because, look, like you said, I am so glad that you're here on my platform. It's a blessing. It is a blessing and an honor to have you here. And for those who may not have known you, you are definitely someone that they need to know. Anyone interested in entertainment, in musicianship, in getting to know God, because we haven't even talked. Look, we are 48 plus minutes in, which means we're going to wrap up soon, but we haven't even talked about half of the things that you do. You're
Look,
on one of my
I hope I
favorite.
haven't been too long winded. I hope I
No,
didn't take up all the
let,
time
let me
by
tell
just
you
flapping my
something.
gums.
Let me tell you something. This has been good to me. I would sit here another hour if we had it, okay? So it's been good to me. No, you have been talking what we need to hear. Let me say this first because I don't want to miss this in case we run out of time. You are on one of my favorite Bible apps.
Oh, yes.
Yes. This gentleman here, y'all, I told you he's like a man of many hats, and I don't know how he does it. And maybe he'll give us the secret tonight on how he juggles everything. But Mr. Alan C. Paul has devotionals as well on you version.
That's
That's
correct.
huge to me too. When I
It's
saw
a,
that, I said, okay, Mr.
it
Paul.
surprised me too. Trust me, I never knew
Oh
that was
my
going to
goodness.
happen. It's such a blessing to be able to share there.
Yes, indeed. And you did some writings on for creatives. Let me put it that way.
Yes.
You did some writings for creatives. So those of you who are on version, make sure that you look up God and Gigs, and you should be able to find those devotionals. Also, make sure that you are following Mr. Allen C. Paul. Make sure that you're showing him love and show some love here tonight as well, so I can continue to bring you all great guests here on Talented Thursday, week after week. It ain't easy, but it's what God has called me to do, and it's what I love, you know? So every week I'm trying to bring them someone new, and it's live. Can you imagine the weight on my shoulders? And it's live. Help me, Lord. So, anyhow, with that being said, thank you. Thank you. I'm going to share this music. I didn't forget. This
Okay.
is Mr. Paul playing As by Stevie Wonder. And I have never heard anyone play it like this. It's up tempo. It's like you jamming. Okay. So y'all just tune in. Keep listening. Here we go. Yes, indeed. Mr. Allen C. Paul. Give it up for him, y'all. Yes.
I gotta
That's
tell
some
you,
good
man.
stuff right there. You hear me?
I gotta tell you, like, listen to myself trying to figure out the Stevie Wonder chords is like, yeah, there's a reason why he's Stevie Wonder. Like, there's a reason why people don't play that live. Because I was
But
like, but I'll tell you, that was literally me just recording myself in hotel lobbies. That's my practice time.
mhm, it
I
was
get to
good.
try. I
It
get to
was good.
try things that I shouldn't try. I get to try, to, get paid to practice basically because it's just like me and like you said, setting atmosphere. Might be a church,
Yes,
but this case it's like a hotel lobby where hey, I just want to make sure people are smiling as they walk through. And
that's
so yeah,
right.
thank you for being willing to. And I'm sure again I'm trying not to cringe in my notes, but hey, if people are smiling, I'm okay.
Oh, people are smiling indeed. Do you hear me? Those are the things that we look over. I knew it was something live. You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
I'm like, hey, I like the tempo that you were doing. And then you moved on to don't you worry about a thing. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
right. So don't
My
you worry
piano
about a
DJ
thing. We ain't
thing.
worried about that.
Thank you. Listen to the song lyrics. You're right.
Absolutely. We're listening to those fingers. I saw Marjorie say, boy, do I wish I could tickle those keys like that. She said her mom was a pianist. That is, you got us listening out here, got us thinking out here. It has been a great episode. I have thoroughly enjoyed myself, but we're not done yet.
Okay.
I have a rapid fire for you. But even before we do that, I want to go back and talk about your books. Okay.
Okay.
So I want you all to pick up God and Gigs. Succeed as a musician without sacrificing your faith. Come on now. That's a good book, right? All the musicians need to have that on their bookshelf, okay? And the other is your devotional, Your Art, God's Heart. I want that for sure. So, where can we pick those books up?
Well, number one, I like what you said earlier that they should already be following your show because I think that
Oh,
this is exactly where God and Gigs, again, the heart and the community are just so aligned. So I can already tell that
thank you.
everybody here is like the same kind of tribe where they get inspiration from you. If they want to find my books, they can just go to godandgigs.com/books. Okay, so you can see the Amazon link there. It'll have an iBooks link there. Even some of them are available PDF if you want to print it, download it for yourself to your Kindle, something like that. So that's the easiest way to find it. Obviously on Amazon, as I mentioned, you can also look up God and Gigs, and you'll find all of those books. And yeah, I
Awesome.
just want to make sure that all the resources are there for musicians and artists like us who want to become the creators that God created them to be. That's the point of the books. That's the point of the devotionals. That's the point of the U version. That's the point of the podcast. All of it is so that when we are doing this, we're loving what we're doing. It's because
Yes.
God's smiling while we're doing it. When we're smiling and we're feeling joy, and expressing love and creativity and music in the right way, not having to sell our souls or give away our mental health,
Mhm.
our spiritual health, our emotional health, or our family's connection, then God's smiling on that, right? It's the
Yes.
whole thing about the verse that says, where you delight yourself in the Lord, and He'll give you the desires of your heart. Well,
Yeah.
these are the desires of our heart to make music and to make it, make art and creative stuff more and more and more abundantly. So that's what the books are about. And yeah, you can
Absolutely.
get them at any of those sites I just mentioned.
Wow. Yes, indeed. Well, you all heard it here. Okay. So make sure that you pick up those books. I know that I'm going to get mine. Okay. Indeed. Now, let me see. I wanted to tell you this because as I was studying, researching, digging in to find out more about Alan C. Paul, what came to mind for me was the scripture, Matthew 25:14 through 30. I should say the parable. Matthew 25:14 through 30, which talked about the parable of the talents,
Yep.
right? The parable of the talents. God has given you so many talents. And what I thought was when he gets to heaven, he's one of the people that God will say, well done, you
Hmm.
know, well done, because you did not bury what God gave you. As I looked through, you have things so much in order. Like when I went to one site, it took me to the next site. Like click here, and my link here, and this is. I'm like, he's so organized. Oh my God.
I'm glad somebody thinks so because I don't think so.
I know so. I was able to track and find your music and find this and that. And so, well done.
Thank
Well
you.
done. And like I said, that's the scripture, the parable, I should say, scriptures,
Hmm.
parable that came to me. God gave you some things, to some, he may give one talent, to some two, to some many. And so you are one of the ones with many and you are multiplying it. You did
Hmm.
not save everything to yourself, but you are imparting gifts into other people through your teachings, through your coachings, through your podcasts, through your music. Thank you. Thank you
Oh
for
wow.
sharing your gifts with the world.
It's my pleasure,
Indeed.
and thank you for this. It's just like I said, I'm just so honored, and I feel right at home with this community. Again, it's just what I
Awesome.
want to do. It's what I want more of. We all need more of this kind of connection. So thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Let's do this rapid fire. Look, I'm tongue tied talking to you tonight. Let's do this rapid fire.
All
And we're
right, I
going
think
to
I'm
get
ready.
on out of here tonight. Thank you all again for joining me tonight with Mr. Alan C. Paul. Isn't he amazing? You are the type of guest that I love on here, because like you said, um, everyone has something to give, right? But you have so much that God has given you. And not only that, you haven't lost your worship for him. You've
Mm,
been able to touch the lives of so many. You've been able to work in and out of so many industries and different types of music, but you never lost God. And so
mm.
for those who watch me, they know that God is welcome on this platform. I said I interview anybody, anybody that God places on my heart. But with that being said, his name is welcome here at any time.
Amen to that.
I pray for this podcast. I prayed before I even started it.
Mhm.
And I pray all the time, like, Lord, I'm trying. Will you please help me get to the, you know what I'm saying? People see this like the sunshine, but sometimes days are heavy. And I gotta seek my father. So I felt comfortable with you. You my friend already. I don't know if you know, but you my new friend. I need to tell you that, okay?
Oh no, no, brothers and sisters in Christ is not just a
Yeah,
phrase. It's a real. It's real.
absolutely. Absolutely. Here we go. Here we go. I know it's late there in Florida, so I'm gonna let you go. What song changed your life?
Kind of Blue, Miles Davis, first record that made me fall in love with jazz.
Oh, I gotta look that up. Okay, okay. Favorite place for you to think?
Uh my living room downstairs, right there. And it's got to be in the morning though. Before, like, I'm looking down because they're loud down there right now. And knowing
Yeah,
my living room is where I do my devotional. So yeah, favorite place to think is down there.
nice. Studio or live performances for you?
Live,
Live,
100%.
yes. A favorite artist that you keep going back to. One of your favorite artists.
I'm gonna stay with jazz. Keith Jarrett,
Mm,
pianist that absolutely revolutionized my playing, and every time I play, I try in some way to channel him. So yeah, Keith Jarrett, I
nice.
will always go back to that.
Awesome. When writing, pen and paper or digital?
When journaling, anything important that I want to think, pen and paper. When I got to get it down fast,
Yeah.
gotta pick up the guy, get the computer. But yeah, I prefer pen and paper.
Awesome, awesome. And if not music, where would you be?
I'd be
Mm,
writing. I would
yeah,
still be doing what I'm doing. I would just be expressing a different way. I mean, music is part of who I am, but it's not who I am. So I would still be expressing who I am and just in a different way.
yes, indeed. I love that. Thank you so much for coming to Talented Thursdays tonight. Do you have any final words for our guest or even for me? Whatever you'd like to say, the floor is yours.
Well, number one, as I said, you are a blessing to not just this community, but clearly you're a blessing to everyone I'm sure that's around you in Las Vegas. Like,
Thank
you are a
you.
light shining on a hill. And I like to say this to everybody that I'm talking to in terms of whether it's, in Christian circles or not.
Mhm.
When Jesus said that part about a city on a hill cannot be hid, is not that you want to hide it or could hide it. It's impossible to hide. You are
Mhm.
impossible to hide. It is,
Oh,
your light's going to shine whether you like it or not, and you're allowing it to shine without trying to impede it. So thank you for what you're doing, for the technical and the excellence you brought to this program. I just think it's going to blow up. Again, the people who need to find it are going to find it. And to everybody else, I would say follow Kimberly's example in terms of showing up, being your best self, even when, like you said, when it's hard, when you don't want to hit play, you hit play. When you don't want to hit
yeah.
record, you hit record. When you don't want to write, let that come from the honesty of your heart, that, hey, maybe this is not the day I need to write today, but I need to either write to myself or share something with somebody else that's close to me. And maybe that's not the song for everybody. Maybe the song you write is just for your next door neighbor, or it's just for you. But always keep allowing that to keep pouring out of you, because what you sow, you reap. And when you want to give out to wherever it is, it does come back to you. So thank you, Kimberly, for what you're putting out into the world. Your talents are not buried. So thank you for what you're doing. And everybody else, I would just say follow this amazing host example. Keep shining, keep creating, and keep becoming the creator that God created you to be.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you for being my guest here tonight. Like I said, I know it's late in Florida, but you made time for little old me. So God bless you. And I want to end with a song that I found you playing, and it was a musical prayer during Election Day, but it's still as prevalent today as it was that day. And it's God Bless America. Thank all of you for watching again, Talented Thursdays. We will see you again next week. Until then, thank you so much, Mr. Alan C. Paul. I'll talk to you soon. All right. You all have a good night. Bye.
Thank you for watching. Please support by subscribing to Talented Television on YouTube.
I'll sing my song.